Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into the chaotic world of financial data. We're going to map it all out and demystify where these numbers that move markets and our money actually come from. You ever feel like you're just lost in a sea of financial numbers? One second, a stock ticker is flashing red. The next, some crypto is soaring, and then bam, a news alert about inflation hits your phone. It can seriously feel like you're drowning in data, right?
Yeah, this screen probably looks pretty familiar. It's just a mess of tickers and acronyms, all screaming for your attention. But how does something like the S&P 500 connect to Bitcoin? Or what does the VIX, the fear index, have to do with inflation? Where does all this stuff actually come from? Well, that's what we're here to do. Let's follow the trail.
All right, first stop on our tour, the bedrock. The absolute foundation of the financial world. We're starting with the big official economic numbers that pretty much set the stage for everything else. You see, before we can even get into the markets, we have to talk about the economy they live in, right? And that's exactly what macroeconomic data is. It's really the best way to think about it. These are the economy's vital signs: its temperature, its pulse, its blood pressure, the whole deal. So, where do we actually get these vital signs? Well, a huge source, one that's trusted by basically everyone, analysts, policymakers, you name it, is FRED. That stands for Federal Reserve Economic Data. It's run by the St. Louis Fed, and it's basically this giant public library for all the big numbers. We're talking inflation, GDP, unemployment. This is ground zero. Okay, so we've got the economic backdrop set. Now, let's move on to the traditional markets themselves. You know, the big institutions that have been running the show for decades. The places where all this value is actually traded and measured day in and day out. Now, this is a really important distinction to make. On one hand, you've got the exchanges, like SIBO. These are the marketplaces. This is where the actual buying and selling happens. But on the other hand, you have index providers like MSCI. They're not the marketplace. They create the scorecards that tell us how the market is doing. The analogy is perfect. One is the game, the other is the scoreboard. So let's talk about SIBO. It's a huge global exchange, but what it's really famous for is creating the VIX. You've definitely heard of this one. It's the market's fear gauge. When investors start getting nervous and think things are about to get rocky, the VIX just shoots up. It's literally a direct measurement of the market's anxiety. And then on the scoreboard side, you've got MSCI. Remember, they don't run the game, they create the maps for it. And get this, they calculate over 246,000 different indexes. These are the benchmarks that guide something like $18 trillion in assets. So whether you're looking at the MSCI World Index or one for emerging markets, they're the ones who basically define what good performance even means. And you know, behind all of this, there's this hidden layer that most of us never even think about: the digital plumbing. And that's exactly what this slide is about. It's the infrastructure built by giants like ICE, the Intercontinental Exchange. They're the ones providing the insane, high-speed tech that makes all of modern finance even possible. All right, time to leave the old guard of Wall Street behind. Our next stop is the wild, super fast-paced world of the crypto frontier. Now, the basic idea of tracking data is kind of the same, but trust me, the players and the assets, they are a whole different ballgame. Yeah, forget stocks and bonds for a second. Here, the big names are Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they're just the tip of the iceberg. They lead a list of over 18,000 different digital assets, each one with its own community, its own tech. It's a completely new asset class. And the scale here is just staggering. We are so far past this being some niche hobby for tech nerds. The total value of all crypto, according to trackers like CoinGecko, is regularly in the trillions of dollars. That's trillion with a T. So, the big question is, how does anyone possibly keep track of all this stuff? Well, that's where the data aggregators come in. Think of sites like CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko. They've basically become the MSCI and the CBO of the crypto space. They're not exchanges themselves, they're data hubs. They pull in prices from hundreds of different places to try and give you one single, reliable picture of this super volatile market. Now, this is really interesting. What this chart shows you is a key dynamic of the crypto world. Even though there are thousands and thousands of these altcoins out there, the market is still just completely dominated by the two big ones, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Together, they make up almost 70% of the entire market's value. It's pretty wild. Okay, so let's recap. We've got the official data, we've got the traditional markets, and we've got the crypto frontier. The final stop on our tour is
The megaphone, the news outlets that take all of this raw data and turn it into the stories we hear every single day. You take a place like MarketWatch. They're masters at turning raw numbers into a gripping story. A drop in silver prices isn't just a number on a screen. No, it becomes this dramatic story about every man and his dog rushing for the exit. It paints this vivid picture of either fear or, for some, opportunity. And then you've got a place like CNBC, which is all about that live, up-to-the-second reporting. So they'll take the exact same event, that silver trade unwinding, and they'll instantly connect it to what the broader market is doing. They'll tell you right now how the S&P 500 is reacting. So these platforms, they're really the crucial final layer in all of this. They're the ones who interpret all the data we've just talked about and tell us why we should care. But that brings up a good question. How does one little data point actually travel through this whole system to become a headline on your phone? Okay, this is where it all comes together. Let's really see how these pieces connect. We're going to trace a single data point on its entire journey, from the moment it's born all the way to your screen. Okay, let's play this out. Step 1. Fred, our government source, releases a higher than expected inflation number. What happens next? Instantly, over at SIBO, the VIX fear gauge might spike because traders are anticipating chaos. Then, that uncertainty ripples over into the crypto world, and you see prices on CoinGecko start to swing wildly. It's only after all that happens that CNBC and MarketWatch blast out a headline like, "Inflation surprise rattles markets." See? A single number triggers this whole chain reaction before you even hear about it.
And really, that is the most important thing to take away from all this. When you understand where the data comes from, whether it's an official report from Fred, a market index from MSCI, or a crypto aggregator like CoinGecko, you suddenly have the power to look right past the dramatic headlines and see what's really going on. And that's really the goal, isn't it? This idea of empowerment is at the heart of this entire ecosystem. From the oldest, most traditional exchanges to the brand new crypto apps, the mission is pretty much the same. Take all this complicated data and make it useful for regular people. And that's our explainer for today. So the next time you see one of those frantic headlines about the market being rattled or some new crypto going to the moon, maybe you'll just take a second and ask yourself, okay, but where did the story really begin?